Hi guys, and welcome to my Wrong Turn ranking. Over the past few months I have been reviewing all of these, and in fact you will find all of those full-length Wrong Turn reviews in my Wrong Turn playlist. I'm very glad that this project is now drawing to a close, because even though I kind of like this series, if you watch all of these films quite close together, as I've done, it really does leave you feeling kind of fatigued with the whole thing, and I certainly don't plan to go back to any of these for a number of years now. But let's get on with the ranking. If you've already seen my full-length reviews, then I guess you will be able to pretty much predict what the rough order is going to be today. But if you've not seen the reviews and you're just watching this summary version, if you like, then enjoy, and I hope that my opinions align with yours as much as possible, I guess. So let's jump into it. We will start with the Wrong Turn film that I consider to be the worst in the franchise. So in 7th place, we've got Wrong Turn 5, Bloodlines. This for me is the worst in the franchise. I don't think it's completely terrible. I did give it 2 out of 5 when I reviewed it. The plot is actually pretty good. It's kind of like Assault on Precinct 13 meets Wrong Turn. A really good concept, actually. It's just a shame that they kind of waste it for the most part. I like some of the characters, especially the female cop, and also some of the youngsters, but where this film falls down, well, 2 reasons, but they both kind of sink the movie, really. Firstly, there's way too many torture kills in this. Like, Three Finger and Company, they won't just kill people in this, they will capture them and then put them into some really elaborate torture scenario that they've got no chance of getting out of, and the purpose just seems to be to make these people suffer as much as possible while the villains stand there going, "Ah!" And all the time I'm thinking, I don't really want to watch this. Can we just get on to the next part of the story, please? The worst example is when Three Finger buries somebody in the grass in this film and then drives this industrial lawnmower over him. But it must have taken ages to actually set this up. Think how long it would take to bury somebody in grass. And then he doesn't even kill him straight away. He sort of drives around him and then comes back again just to drag the torment on for a little bit longer. Just don't like it. And this wasn't how the series started out. It was probably around about Wrong Turn 4 coming into this film that we started to get more and more of these types of kill, and it's just not for me personally. And the other way that this film really lets itself down is with the ending. This has got such a morbidly depressing ending. I mean, I'm not against unhappy endings in horror films. Think of The Thing, for example, with McCready and his buddy dying at the end of that. Okay, it's an unhappy ending, but we've still had the joy of seeing him take down the monster, and that final conversation is kind of cool. So even though it's an unhappy ending, we're still happy walking away from the film. This film, there's nothing to be happy about in the entirety of the last half an hour. It's just one depressing moment after one depressing moment. There's nothing to cheer. All the villains get away. It's just awful. We're watching really good characters get tortured and killed, and the implications of what's going to happen to one particular character after this film is just absolutely awful to consider. So why they felt the need to do this, I don't know. And I think because of this, and also because of all the torture, this is definitely the worst Wrong Turn film for me. Number 6, we have Wrong Turn 6, and I kind of remember enjoying this when it first came out, but rewatching it recently, the film really went downhill for me this time. In terms of positives, I guess I like the mansion setting, it's kind of cool, and there's at least one good kill which takes place in a kind of underground amphitheatre chamber with a weird sex chair. The whole kill is nicely shot and there's a good build up to it. And on the subject of kills in general, actually, at least we're getting away from that whole torture-style kill thing that we had going on with Part 5. That's mostly gone here, which is a good thing. But I don't have much else to crow about when it comes to Wrong Turn 6. I didn't enjoy the story. It feels like a first draft. Certain things about the tale being told here just don't make all that much sense. The main arc with the main character who's inheriting the mansion, it's just not very well written. It doesn't feel like something that would actually happen if this was a real situation. I don't understand why the mountain men kill people at certain points of this story. Their involvement feels really shaky. And on the whole, it's just not that much of an enjoyable movie, I've got to say. And it's got another one of those really depressing endings as well. There's like an epilogue where the hotel slash mansion opens up again and people start coming in, and there's all these cheerful greetings like, hey, come in. And I think I'm meant to be amused by the fact that the villains have won and they're opening the hotel again, but I'm not amused. I'm just utterly fed up. At number 5, we have Wrong Turn 4, Bloody Beginnings. This is another one that I remembered being pretty good for years until I came to this rewatch series. And I think the reason why my brain remembered this as being good is because of the snowy setting. So whenever I used to think of Wrong Turn 4, I would always think, oh, that was the one with the snow, that was pretty good. Yeah, my brain would think of the snow. It wouldn't think of all the bad things that were there, just under the surface. But I certainly won't forget those bad things this time, now that I've done a full review on the film. Where do I even start with this one? The characters are absolutely appalling. There are 10 of them, I think. It's a big cast, men and women, that they all know each other from college, but they're all just basically beautiful people with no personality. There's not one character you can really get behind in this film. And the kills at this point of the franchise had just started to introduce that torture type kill that would really become a massive problem in Wrong Turn 5, but it kind of starts here, and there's one kill in the middle of this which is almost unwatchable. There's a guy strapped to a table, and Three Finger and his men, they just start like using knives and forks to take chunks out of him, like they're cannibals from Green Inferno or something like that. And this scene goes on for like 10 minutes. It's long, and I just don't like it. But on the flip side, there are actually some good kills in this. There are 3 or 4 decent kills, mostly the ones that are over quite quickly, but there is some good stuff in the movie, hence why it's come this high on the ranking. And I do love the location. I'll go back to that as well. That having a film in the snow is really cool, and the isolated mansion gives the film some kind of sense of atmosphere, I suppose. And the finale with the severed heads is brilliant, albeit you can't see it on the German version that I wasted money on. There is another problem with the ending, though. So there's a moment where there's 3 women just trapped in like a snowy field, and the mountain men have got 3 snowmobiles, and they've completely surrounded these 3 women. And then they just drive off and leave the women for like no reason whatsoever. It's like, what is going on with the writing here? It's just so weird. So this film, I'd consider this one to be a step up from Wrong Turn 5 and 6. There is a large degree of entertainment to be had with Wrong Turn 4, but it's massively flawed as well. 5 and 6, I couldn't actually decide for a while which one I was going to put bottom. Those 2 films are very much on their own tier at the bottom. Wrong Turn 4, just a nudge above those. But yeah, the entire prequel trilogy, though, of 4, 5 and 6, the fact that we're starting with those 3 films today before any of the others, that really just does tell you something, doesn't it? So slap bang in the middle of the rankings at number 4, we have the Wrong Turn remake from 2021. This film completely reimagines the franchise. Gone are Three Finger and his merry band of cannibal hillbillies, and in their place we have a brutal society of woodland hunters who have their own ideas about law and order, as a group of young hikers find out to their cost. There's a lot to like about this film. I've enjoyed it both times I've seen it. There are a lot of things I would like to iron out as well, a few issues here and there, but if you want to hear me go on about those, then check out my full review. One thing I will say about this film, it's better than a lot of other one-offs within long-running franchises. For example, it's better than the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, it's better than the Child's Play remake, it's better than the Friday the 13th remake, in my opinion. It's a film that you can check out even if you've got no intention of watching any of the other Wrong Turn films. You can just watch this one in isolation and not even think about it as a Wrong Turn film. It's a shame that it didn't do that well at the box office. I would have liked to have seen this version of Wrong Turn get a few films, maybe make a trilogy out of it. But even in its current state, it does kind of... You can look at this film as a completed story, which is at least one thing going for it. At number 3, we have Wrong Turn 3, Left 4 Dead. This one is basically escaped convicts versus cannibals. It's a really fun concept. I really enjoy this one a lot, actually. There are lots of highlight moments in this film. This one's probably got the best kill in the franchise, in my opinion. There's a guy who steps on this trap on the back of a pickup truck thing, and the effects that they've used to show him slowly being squeezed to death as his head bangs on the road and stuff, it's really impressive. And I love the fight between the main villain and Three Finger towards the end of the film. It's really, really cool, actually. And there are so many other fun moments throughout the story, lots of fun bits of dialogue as well. On the negative side, when I look at the rafting section at the beginning, it does make me wish that they'd done a whole movie set on a moving river. I'd love to see a kind of River Wild meets Wrong Turn type story. Maybe that's something that they could do in the future, maybe. And also, this film doesn't really have a satisfying protagonist. The guy who fights back a little bit against the prisoners, he's not that great a character, and neither is the final girl. The final girl in this, she's basically just there to tick a box. She makes absolutely no impression on the story whatsoever. But overall, I do like this film. I think it did something different from the first two, and with a reasonably restricted budget, I think it pulls off something quite impressive. And number two, we have the original Wrong Turn. This is still a really cool horror film, even 20 years later. Very simple in concept. We've got 6 people who get into car trouble in the woods, and they realise they're on the territory of some really crazy mountain people, so they've got to just try and get out of the woods any way that they can. And there's a really fun adventure feel to this movie as we follow the journey of these characters, and Three Finger and his chums are on their tail every step of the way. But there's so much tension in this, like the characters hiding under the bed, having to put their hands over their mouths, and then later on when they find a fire tower and they go up, but they're basically at a dead end and they don't know what they're going to do, and next thing the tower's on fire. There's so many moments where you just feel really uneasy and on edge and scared for these people, and the later films needed to look at this for inspiration, not just start doing torture kills and things that are not that satisfying. And the final battle you get in this between the surviving 2 characters and the cannibals, it's a lot of fun. It's very brutal. It really gets your adrenaline pumping. This is a film that has really grown, I think, over time. I don't remember being that impressed by it when it first came out, but every now and again I'll go back to it, and it just seems to get even better somehow. Maybe because every time I go back to it, there's a new Wrong Turn film that's come out that's not that great. It just makes me think that this one is even better somehow. But this is a really cool original film for this franchise, and it's only just missed out on top spot today. So in the top spot today, we have Wrong Turn 2. This film is just absolutely fucking awesome. I don't mind dropping an F-bomb just to amplify how good this film is. Wrong Turn 2 is, for me, the heart and soul of this franchise. It's so, so good. It's got a slightly different feel to it from the first movie. There's a little bit more comedy this time around. Not enough to make it a black comedy. Just a sprinkling of comedy here and there, just to add to the fun. So basically, we've got a Survivor, Big Brother type game show here that's taking place in the woods close to where the cannibals live. And this film has fun sort of playing on the tropes of that type of TV show, but it's not long into the actual game that the contestants realise that they are in the presence of murderers, so they all start running off in all sorts of directions. But there's so many good kills in this film. It's a very splattery type film. I love Henry Rollins' character. He's running around with like Rambo weaponry, bows and arrows. There's dynamite. There's villains being blown up, blasted with shotguns. The final 2 villains die in like this crushing type machinery thing that is really satisfying. There's twists in this film. The characters who die, you don't expect to die. There are other characters you thought were going to die. You thought they were perfunctory characters, and then they turn out to be heroes. It's just a really cool film. I don't think there's any negatives that I have about this. I just love Wrong Turn 2. It is a riotously good time from beginning to end, and I even love the theme tune that plays on the end. It really sums up the film perfectly. So for me, this is the best Wrong Turn film by far. And I guess that just about brings us to the end of the video. So do let me know in the comments how you would rank the Wrong Turn films. This now finally brings me to the end of my Wrong Turn review series. I've done the films, I've done the ranking. We can put this whole thing to bed and move on. So I'll leave it there for today. Until next time, cheerio, bye-bye.